everyone, welcome to the Leader Circuit 2.0. This is the season 2 of a series where we get into the heads of our leaders and figure out what they are thinking, what drives them, and finally what is the major parameter which is bringing CarDekho mile by mile higher up and higher up in the auto tech ecosystem, making it a number one player. So in this series, I am going to be your host, Gaurav Arora. I head investor relation and PR with the group, and I have got this a unique opportunity to actually interview our group CFO Mayank Gupta, who happens to be the head of finance. Let's start our journey with the finance leader and figure out that how exactly we can take out the real outcomes and the real spirit from our finance leaders. So Mayank, thank you for joining us and welcome to this Leader Circuit 2.0.
My pleasure.
So we will start with your journey as a professional first. Get to know about you, about your education, about your journey till you become a CFO, and then journey as a CFO for last 1.5 decade, I believe, right?
So, I grew up in a middle class family, was able to crack into SRCC, did my CA, and worked with 2 companies before becoming CFO. Last 12 years I've been CFO, and the journey has been very eventful. I was very fortunate to work with some of the best leaders in the world. I still remember my first job as a CFO. I went in as an auditor, what's wrong in the business and how should I find faults in the business. And I soon realized that's not the way any company and any business should work. And of course, with a lot of coaching, mentoring, I transitioned into a business partner role and ended up meeting a lot of customers and transitioned my views in what you make customer first, business first, and how you drive the right culture while achieving results which are financially sound. And that's kind of the right balance. I think that should be the number one thing I picked up over last decade or so.
Mayank, I think that's very interesting. Most of us come from a middle class backgrounds, going step by step up in the ladder and becoming the senior most person in the finance. I really want to know your journey. I know that you have been in MNC, you have been in startups, and then finally you're in a unicorn, especially auto tech. What's your view on this particular industry, that how this has been differentiated from your previous jobs, and what is the most exciting factor which brought you here?
So look, one, I'm a big believer in startups in general. I think as somebody said, right, next century for India will be in the world actually will be for India, and startups of today will be the biggest businesses in years to come. On auto tech specifically, I think there are a lot of macro tailwinds going on. My first job was in an auto OEM, so I could sense how much a car is important to an average Indian family. If you see worldwide, we are still one of the lowest penetrated car countries in the world, with just 22 cars per 1,000 people. In any comparable country anywhere in the world, that number is at least 10x. So I think that's first tailwind. Second tailwind will always be digitization. We've seen in last 3 years during COVID, I think the country has moved 5 years forward in terms of digitization.
Sure.
And I would say the number 3 and in fact very important variable which will hit all our lifetimes in, let's say, 8-10 years from now, India will hit around $5,000 GDP per capita. And the moment that happens, the disposable income in all the sectors goes up significantly. And as an Indian, we all know, you invest first in your education. Everybody wants to buy a house and probably a car.
Yes.
So I think car becomes a very important need, and hence any company who's trying to address this with best technology would have a very good future. And what attracted me here in CarDekho, I think a lot of things, but I think the purpose with which we are building, we are trying to get solving mobility needs of an average Indian. I think that's what really connected with me, and for me it's a homecoming to auto industry after almost 20 years.
When you say homecoming, just take us back to those days when I'm sure you started as a fresher in Maruti, right? So take us back to those days and tell few memories, your learnings, and what actually helped you to strengthen your base so much that you are able to climb up the ladder in such a successful way.
I think since of course it's long time back, but two specific memories I could relate. At that time, I joined Maruti. Maruti was 73% market share at that time, and it's like the most sought after OEM in auto. And my first job, my boss trusted me so well. I was given a very, very large portfolio. I was like head of payments at that time of almost 8,000 crore payments. And I remember I used to ask, I used to sign 300 checks every week. And I went to my boss, this is like really mundane work. What should we do differently? And my hands pained by just signing those checks. And he said, look, what do you want to do? I said, we should automate.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, go ahead. And that day he said, go ahead to me. And within like 4 months, we were live. And we mandated almost the entire auto industry to move and migrate to the NEFT platform as we used to call it at that time. And with that transition, almost the entire auto industry, almost every auto parts OEM transitioned into auto payments. Fast forward 2 years later, we had one of the largest income tax cases in India at that time with Maruti. And I was fortunate to be discussed at the Maruti management and was posted in that role. And there, of course, I paid a lot of trades around how do we handle, complex situations. So it was a very, very good, upfront, a good roller coaster ride, which if I look now and back, I think they really helped me build a very, very good base, working with some of the best leaders.
Wow. So what I could pick up from the two instances is that one, you're very futuristic. You did something which was, automation of payments, which was, migrating from manual to maybe automation, which was more of a future step. And second, when you got into the cases and all that, I'm sure your knack of governance, high governance, come from that particular angle. So I think I'm going to pick up these two parts, in as we proceed further. Before I, take you further in our CarDekho journey, I really want to know something about your, personal life, about your family. Just tell us, who all are there and how do you spend as a day when you're not a CFO, at least at home?
Yeah. No, so look, I'm a very family-oriented person. I live with my parents. My wife is also a chartered accountant. I have 2 lovely kids. Most of the time, if I'm not working, are reserved for my family to make sure, I take care of my parents. I spend some time with my kids. I go out with my wife. And then, of course, if I get still some time left to charge myself, probably reading, probably doing a bit of keeping myself fit, and that helps me de-stress and enable me to come back to work and hopefully be better at it.
When you're here now almost a year, so just take us through your 1 year journey in CarDekho, because I think all of us will be very keen to know that coming from a particular background after doing certain marquee industry defining deals. I remember you did Tata 1mg deal, you did Paperfly deal in e-commerce. So a lot of enriching experience with you, and in last year, 1 year, you have been here. Just tell us, how was your journey here? Then crystal ball gazing of another 1 year from here. So last 1 year, please.
For me, it was like a really, really roller coaster industry, and CarDekho. If I reflect now, I was really fortunate to join CarDekho. It's a complex set of business, and it has almost beaten almost every expectation I had. Fortunately, during my last 1 year, I think the company became unicorn. Then we hit our 1,000 crore revenue run rate.
Yes.
Towards the latter part of last financial year. And this year, as we keep so far in the year, I think a lot of positive steps are happening. Getting ready for IPO. Personally speaking, I think it was a very good decision in my view. I think the leadership we have, right from founders, Amit, Anurag, Mayank, as well as SLT, and as well as 260 top leaders in the company, and right till probably the junior most person in the company, I see one thing very different in our company versus others is one, I think that passion is there with everybody.
Yeah.
And secondly, the business mindset of, MVP / unit economics, I think that's prevalent across the company. So I think that's what I found very different, that we are not just building a flashy kind of an environment and a company and a valuation, but we are trying to build at a core. And all functions, lot of training opportunities are there. So I think we have given a very, very good platform. And so far for me, every day I'm surprised what else is stored for the company. In fact, my first impression was, right from my onboarding to my daily use of technology, I was very pleasantly surprised. We have 40 plus apps, which I think as CarDekho team we have
Yes.
designed internally, which we are using for doing a lot of things. Somewhere internally, somewhere to touch our customers and our vendor partners.
So all in all, I think from a CFO, you'll add on a techie skill also here, right?
Absolutely, I think that's what I say. Is everybody, we are a tech startup.
Yeah.
So in addition to whatever functional skill we bear, we must pick up some technology and try to address every problem using technology, right? Through a structured, thinking and decoding every problem into steps and using technology to solve things. So yes, I'm loving it and picking up some tech DNA as well.
Wow. Well, what it takes to be a CFO?
So I would say, I think the first one in my view is just understanding the right balancing act. Okay, I think of course nothing can beat experience. I think you should experience all key verticals, core verticals in finance, be it controllership, be it FP&A, be it business, be it supply chain finance, be it taxation.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think it all translates into how you think the world. I tell everybody, right, start from customer. Customer pays our salary.
Yes.
So think like a customer, probably try to meet customer if possible at least once a quarter, if preferable once a month.
Right.
You got three stakeholders, right? Customer, employees, and probably shareholders.
Yes.
And probably all others, right? Your vendor partners, and see if we can, solve for them.
Yeah.
And in the process, make money.
Got
So
it.
solve this equation of getting the right revenue, maximize your revenue, optimize your cost. Get your capital efficiency through balance sheet monitoring right, and then finally your governance aspect. Get those things right. This equation translates to long-term value creation. And anything anybody does it, have a fair chance to be a CFO.
All right.
And in my view, everybody should aspire and would
Yes.
love to have people and that's a job. We should build up our future talent.
I'm gonna hold you for this, huh? So be ready for it. Okay.
No, absolutely.
So now I have to really put you to a seat of CFO and ask you that what's your plan for the next year, because you have to really do a crystal ball gazing for us and tell us that where do you see this company and our overall positioning down the line 1 year. What's the big mark event which is gonna happen next year?
So look, I think the entire company is waiting for that event.
Yes.
In fact, as I say, right, any company is born ultimately to be on its own foot and probably be a listed company through a process called IPO.
Yes.
I think the next big event we are getting ready. We became unicorn last year.
Yes.
We are doing a lot of steps right now to get ready, and the next big upcoming event is IPO in a year or so, year and a half. And of course, we can't time the market. I think there is also a factor of external world.
Yes.
But of course, we can control a lot of internal factors. So in my view, three things which is relevant. One is the software aspect.
Correct.
A company is IPO ready when it is predictable.
Yeah.
When most of your business models are solved, when you are not looking for any major pivots. In tech startups today, I think the another filter which is there is being profitable. So we as company, and I think all of us together are working towards reducing our burn, which is coming month on month.
Yeah.
And have a path to profitability. And I would say lastly, a long-term kind of a growth path by choosing business models which gives you a long-term runway of growth. And I think the type of businesses we have picked up are all long tailwinds for decades to come.
Right.
So we are very, very adequately protected. Of course, we keep needing every few years another area to further propel the growth. But I think those are sorted. And I think the second piece is kind of a procedural aspect, which is around getting the independent board right, getting all the right committees, defining the right KPIs, and then of course formally running the process of merchant bankers and this thing. I think that's going to, part of it is happening and part of it will be in due course, and probably you in any case are helping and leading the process. So you can of course add more, but I think as a company level, I think that's very, very big. All of us as a company are very, very excited.
Yeah.
And at least from where I see, I think it's going to be hopefully a very, very good outcome, given the type of company we've created over the last 14 years.
Wow. So we can see some, I would say, mega action in the next 4 to 6 quarters, right?
Absolutely. So, I
So-
think it will be, we are in a very proud position to represent the company, to help drive the charter on behalf of the company.
Yes.
And it's all because of all the efforts which all the people so far in last 14 years have put in, who have built the company brick by brick,
Yeah.
and took us where we are today. And our job is to represent well,
Yes.
and then of course continue on the journey.
Of course, I think I've been part of the meetings where you have been articulating group's journey, phenomenally. Now, okay, just drop the crystal ball and pick up the binoculars and tell me where do you see the group in 5 years? So now a little bit, a longer journey. Group has been there for 15 years and building it for decades. So at least 5 year view, we really want to know from you.
I think, in my view, I think what we should not change in 5 years. Let me come to what we should be controlling things, right?
Yes.
So one, we should remain focused on our customer.
Yes.
Okay? And the way we have set up our teams, I think we will remain laser focused on customer. Secondly, our focus on just prudence.
Yes.
And making sure every business we touch, we are driving the right ROE, or return on equity on any investment we make in any business.
Right.
Third, I would say keep focusing and investing on talent.
Right.
Now, if you do this, and of course pick up businesses which are like expanding. Now, if you do this, nobody can stop us. So I would expect, look, we touched unicorn last year. We'll be hopefully listed in next 1 to 1.5 years. I think a next logical milestone, at least in our headgear, should be, of course, Decacorn.
I was waiting for it.
Absolutely. So I don't know what will be the timing, but I would say conservatively anywhere between 3 to 5 years should be our goalpost.
Yes.
But we are not building company to become a Decacorn. We are building company to make it a customer-centric company, solving customer needs.
Right.
Okay. Doing the best possible at a world scale level. And valuation is just an outcome.
Valuation follows.
Valuation follows. We are just not building a company to be a Decacorn company.
What will be the major contributor from the business angle? Because group is largely India centric, partially Southeast Asia. Do you think what that 10x kind of a valuation growth is going to come from what all bigger factors? Definitely profitability is one you covered. Customer is a second you covered. But I am looking for something more, which can actually put my 10x journey exactly in order and a right propulsion.
So I think group has evolved over last decades or so, and today we are in very high compounding industries. Having said that, there will always be some new variables which will come in, and we are thinking more about it. If I pick up a few variables as we speak right now, so one is electric vehicles is just around the corner, it's taking shapes. Firstly in 2-wheelers, likely they may move into 4-wheelers.
Right.
How do we partner? That will be very critical for us to drive growth. We took over an NBFC early in this calendar year. How do we now build up a strong book with industry lowest losses possible?
Understood.
I think that could be another growth factor. Of course, insurance business. I think lot of good work is happening. By our insurance equity. I think we added life and health more than a year ago. I think those are starting to bear some fruits. Continuing to go focus around it and making sure we continue to gain scale.
Correct.
Our new auto business, I think I talked on the EV side. On the used car, I think we got a lot of things right, but I think that business still needs some pivots. How do we make sure that we build sustainable cash flow generating business out of it?
Correct.
So I think team is working to pick up what's the right pivot around it.
Yeah.
And lastly, international. I think international could be actually really big. Over last 1 year, I think we're really growing leaps and bounds, that could be another big growth factor where you can keep on adding countries and all your boilerplate businesses at home can be replicated globally in any markets we touch. So far, of course, we picked up Southeast Asia, which Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia. But I think that growth vector can actually take us further up as we go along.
So, Mayank, we'll now, maybe come back to CarDekho Group as a larger entity where, almost 6,000 people are working. And do you come to office daily, by the way?
I try to be in office most of the days. Yeah.
What makes you, what's that driving force which makes you get up, early in the morning and drives you all the way to office? What's that one thing? What do you look forward to come to office?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that passion in the company. I read this book, Tap Dancing to Work.
Okay.
And I really feel, every day of my life, I try to do a tap dancing to work. I really enjoy coming to office. And because, we're trying to do a lot of good things. And, it gives me a very, very good high seeing so many amazing colleagues, and all of us trying to solve customer problems and in turn solve our own functional aspects. How do we contribute towards that goal?
Yeah, it's better to catch hold of people when they're in office. In digital world, you just talk to a screen. It's not fair. No. So you're absolutely right. I think I follow the same feeling that when you talk to people, you can actually resonate or connect with them in a much better way. So tell me, in CarDekho Group, from a cultural perspective, from a employee engagement perspective, from overall bonding perspective, what are the few things you have noticed and they are unique in themselves, which you have not seen in your past?
So I think one thing which, in my view, and I said of course in the beginning, but I think one are humble roots as a company. I think Amit Anwar coming from Jaipur, kind of a tier 2 city.
Right.
I think that's visible across the company. I think everybody is like here with a purpose.
Right.
I think we have, most cases, we have attracted people not for money. We have attracted people for purpose.
Right.
And when you do that, I think short term there may be some mismatches, but long term what you're trying to build is a revolution. That's what I find one thing very, very different. I think the second thing I would say is empowerment. I think the way I think we have carved out our group is every BU is being empowered individually to take decisions, and that's the reason we are acting like a amoeba, right? Each or if you pick up let's say a movie like a Forrest Gump, right? We're trying to create each business as a Forrest Gump, and they keep doing great stuff about what they are trying to do. And I think at a group level, our only job is to just provide minimal supervision, and each individual business is trying to enhance its whatever geography, product, customer segmentation. So I think those are the two things in my view is very, very different and unique about a company.
So Mayank, you talked about commitment, you talked about purpose, you talked about revolution, and all this requires a lot of commitment. What's your definition of commitment? And I know you love to quote an example here, so you have to tell us that. What's that definition of commitment?
I recently met one of the cricketing stars, Kapil Dev.
Yes.
And somebody asked him the same question. And I believe in cloning, right? If I pick up some good idea, I would like to implement in my life.
That's the best thing you can do.
So somebody asked him, like, what do you mean by commitment? The new cricketers, what do you think about them? How do you motivate them to drive more commitment? And he said, look, if you fall in love and you go out for a dinner, meal, do you watch time?
No.
Nobody wants to watch time, right? Everybody wants to see, look, you lose time, sense of time, and you just be in there.
Right.
And in my view, commitment is like that. If you love what you're doing, you will soon lose track of your time. And if it is like morning, evening, night, doesn't matter. And believe you me, I've seen so many people here which are like just doing what they love.
Okay.
And the moment you start doing what you love, commitment comes naturally, right?
Yes, love what you do. We get that. So out of our values and delight, which one is your favorite one? I know it's a tough question.
I know it's a tough one. So firstly, in my view, I think it's a very thought through value acronym we have created, and I think in my view, each of them, resonates for itself. If I need to pick up one, probably I will pick empathy.
Okay.
In my view, if you can relate to yourself as a customer, if you can think like a customer, if you can think like an employee, if you can think like a shareholder, if you can think like a partner, I think a lot of things you'll do will be very right balance and longer term view.
So what's the message you have for our CarDekho family? And after you give a message, I'm going to make you commit something to all our audience. But first, you give your message for our CarDekho family.
So I think the only message will be just keep doing great. I think our family has really built brick by brick last 14 years.
Yeah.
And it's a great reflection of the larger community and the larger family we have. I think we are at a very, very interesting phase where we are just about to get in a listed space and get retail investors' money, and that puts a lot of responsibility on our shoulders.
Correct.
As Superman says, with great powers come great responsibilities.
Yes.
In my view, we've got one of the best team in the industry, and if we can continue to focus on the one thing which is customer problem solving in the most optimized way, and make money in the process, I think that equation, if all of us can put our relative contribution into that, we are a very very strong force, for future.
So you're signing off with a guarantee card for the Decacoin journey, right? Or more than that?
Yeah, I think it's so. In my view, valuation is not a number. I think it is an outcome.
Yes.
I would say, as they say in Gita, right? Karmanya adhikarasya ma phaleshu kadachana.
Yes.
So don't worry about outcome and valuation numbers. Right?
Right.
Worry about the efforts you make.
Right.
And the journey you choose. So in my view, I think Decacoin has to happen. It's just a matter of time.
Perfect.
And why just stop at Decacoin?
Why just stop at Decacoin? I agree.
So I think if we remain focused on what we're trying to build, I think we have a very long path to